Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Just Saying. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope everyone had a great holiday. I'm Shay,
And I'm Jairus.
and we are so glad to be back for the next few weeks until Christmas.
That's right.
It's the holiday season.
I had a great Thanksgiving, ate very good food, got a deep fried turkey from my grandpa, and
Sheesh.
some banana bread from my grandma that tastes like smoke.
Oh, God.
That was nice, but it's okay. She doesn't listen to this podcast. Uh, but yeah, she smokes in the house, so
Not good.
everything cooks with the smoke,
Yep.
and it was not pleasant.
Yep.
Spit it out and threw the rest of it away. So thanks, grandma, for that.
And, yeah, I had a good Thanksgiving too. Went up, drove a little over 2 hours away to spend it with my mom and stuff, and it was a good time. But Jairus, that wasn't the only reason why we did not have an episode for a little bit. You were on vacation.
That's right. Went up to Louisville, Kentucky. You say Louisville, they make fun of you.
Or
So,
Louisville.
yep, now I know the correct way to pronunciate it. So, went up to visit my friend, had a ton of fun, did a bunch of hiking, very scenic. Uh, we even called you when we were
You did.
in one of the parts of the cliffs.
You did.
Uh, yeah, so everything was nice. We went to a hockey game too
You
the
did.
last day in Columbus. We lost, but at a big score, 7-6 in overtime. So I cannot complain. Got every bit of money.
Yeah.
We sat like 8 rows up from the front, and I'll tell you what, those hockey players look so much bigger
That
when
close. Yeah.
you're up that
Yeah.
close. Like Victor Hedman, he's already 6'7" without skates.
Yeah.
So standing on skates, he's just a beast.
Big boy.
That's why they call him the Big Swede. But yeah, that was a great game. Talked to some fans about, Johnny Gaudreau and,
Hmm.
you know, their experience watching him, and just very nice to connect with fans outside of my fandom in the
Yeah.
sport. Always love it. Um, Also, the Flames played the Blue Jackets last night and had a big tribute to Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah.
So the NHL and every team has done such a good job paying tribute to him and his brother Matthew as well. Had their dad on the ice for the opening ceremony. The whole family was in attendance. So yeah, it's just great. It's very unfortunate that they passed, but just it's been so great seeing the love from the hockey world, everybody coming together to support the family in such a moment. So
Yeah. I agree. It's been awesome to see all the love and support coming from everybody. And last night's tribute, as of this recording, that's Tuesday night, was was very, very touching. Um, so I'm glad you had a good vacation, had a good trip, had fun at the hockey game, lots and lots and lots of action, obviously with that high score. But we have an episode today. We have just sports because nothing really big in Marvel world or anything like that. And NASCAR is over, as we already touched in our last episode, and baseball is over. But we're actually going to lead off with baseball because there is some pretty hefty financial things going on.
yeah, that's right. And if you can guess which team have been the big spenders this offseason, there's only one correct answer.
Oakland A's.
Yeah, and not the Rays either. Speaking of the Rays, actually, I didn't put it up here on the board, but they did find a home for next season. They will be
Mhm.
playing in the Yankees spring training facility,
In Tampa. That's right.
and there is a plan now. I think $50 million, not billion,
Million.
uh, to fix up Tropicana Field to play there the following season until the new stadium is finished. But also,
That
there's been a
was
pause
yeah.
on the new stadium. So
Shocker.
I don't know what's going on right now, but hopefully they get it all sorted out. I do find it a little weird that a stadium you're only gonna be playing in for 2 seasons shovel out $50 million to fix up. But I guess you can't just leave it sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
well, they use it for other events too, concerts and stuff, so that's why they gotta fix it up.
yeah. So, we'll see what happens with that, but, right now, it seems like the Rays' home is kind of a mess right now,
Yeah.
so not a surprise.
No.
Anyways, the big spending correct answer is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Who else but the Los Angeles Deferred, the Los Angeles, Mickey Mouse organization, they've been called, uh, the Los Angeles Big Spenders, whatever you wanna call them.
Mhm.
Uh, Not only is Shohei Ohtani come expected to pitch in the next season, they
Mhm.
have a scary starting rotation, including Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and hopefully Clayton Kershaw is ready to go for the start of next season as well.
Mhm.
But they have just added arguably the biggest pitcher on the market
Yeah.
in Blake Snell, signed him to a 5-year, $182 million contract, which includes $66 million in deferred money through 2046. So,
Yeah.
if you thought the Dodgers, they've won the World Series.
Yep.
Otani didn't pitch. Now Otani's gonna be back, and they've added Blake Snell,
Yep.
and everybody else is signed. So, wow, just I don't know what to say.
That that leads in to our discussion here with, baseball doesn't have a salary cap. They've never had one. You may excuse the dogs. You may not like that the Dodgers are pretty much the super team. However, you have to give props to their ownership because they're forking up the money to make their team the best possible team and give them the best possible chance to win a World Series. So, in my eyes, major props to their ownership. But with all this going on and all the negativity now attached to the Dodgers, especially after signing Blake Snell and becoming this massive super team, the next CBA, which I still think is a few years down the road, um, will there be discussions? Do you think on deferred money and spending? Maybe a potential discussion for a salary cap. What do you think?
I think at this point, since baseball doesn't have a salary cap and never has, I highly doubt there would be a discussion for a salary cap. Um, Now, is there like a tax, like a luxury tax on teams
I think
in a certain bracket?
I think there is a luxury tax, if I remember correctly, but I don't think it's as aggressive of a tax as it is like in the NBA.
Yeah. So I I personally doubt there would be discussions on the salary cap. Could I see restrictions on like the amount of deferred money?
Mhm.
Maybe, because now with this signing, the Dodgers have reached $1 billion in total deferred money
Yeah,
from 2028 through 2046.
yeah,
So their contention window is huge, maybe the next decade.
yeah,
Once it's over and they have to pay all these players their deferred money, it's going to be a huge crash down to earth.
yeah. I think so.
So the Dodgers are definitely in win now mode. Um, but you can't get mad at them because every team has the ability to do this
Yeah, if their ownership pays
if
up.
it's in the rules. It's the same in hockey, discussed for years. Tampa Bay did it, Vegas did it, used the LTIR loophole to bring players back, and they were, 15, $20 million over the cap. They didn't do anything wrong.
Nope.
You can be mad at them all you want, but your team, whoever you root for, has the ability to do the same thing. It is not against the rules. Now, would the Rays ever do something like that? Hell no. They don't make enough money,
Yeah.
first of all. They don't have that deep-pocketed owner,
Mhm.
so they don't have the ability to do it, but they could still do it in theory.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely think there's, especially if the Dodgers win another 2 or 3 championships between now and the next CBA discussion. I could definitely see talks amongst ownership and leadership in the corporate offices of MLB, um, with the deferred money and spending and all that, maybe a more aggressive luxury tax. I agree. I don't think a salary cap is really on the table. I could see maybe 1 or 2 teams at least proposing it, but I don't it would get shot down immediately in my opinion. Um, but you don't have to like it, but it's not illegal. So every team, like you just said, can do it. Obviously, the big market teams are gonna be the ones that take advantage of this, like the Dodgers, like the Yankees. For the longest time, the Yankees were the team with the highest payroll for, like, 2 decades, basically, or something like that. Now it's the Dodgers, and the Mets, of course, are up there too. So the bigger market teams can definitely take advantage of this, which leads into the next question.
Now, before we go, I think you made an interesting point.
Mhm.
If the Dodgers win 3 or 4 or 5 championships, if they don't and, they crash and burn because of the deferred money,
Mhm.
then I don't think anyone would complain about afterwards because it was not successful. So,
Yeah, the
depending
Dodgers would
on
be
if it works, that could, really affect things.
yeah, in a normal scenario, like, if they didn't spend all this money and have all these superstars, if they just landed Shohei and that was it, and may had maybe Mookie Betts and that was it as another superstar, and they still won the World Series this past year, I would say it's a huge success. But because they have Shohei and Mookie and Freddie Freeman and their starting rotation and getting Blake Snell, one is, would say as a Dodgers fan, probably not enough. Like, one is still probably considered a failure. Like, you need multiple championships in this 10, maybe longer year window to say all this money and all these contracts are a success.
Yeah, everybody will clown on a bad contract or, like, a bad maybe deferral,
Mhm.
but if you win, that all goes away.
Yeah.
But in the Dodgers case, I agree with you. With this amount of spending, they don't just need to win 1. They
Yeah.
need to win 3 or 4.
Yeah, I would say 3 minimum over the next 10 years, like, minimum.
Yeah,
And even then, it's like, oof, $1 billion, you only won 3 championships? Oof,
y
it's rough.
yeah. So as you were about to say, moving on before I rudely interrupted you, with the spending, does this make it hard for small market teams to contend? I think it makes it more difficult, but we've seen in the past teams that go out and spend a bunch of money. Take the Mets the previous season,
Mhm.
they were the biggest spenders of the offseason. They missed the playoffs. They're a big market team.
Right.
So we've seen examples where, teams don't need to go out and spend all this money to have a good roster. And just like in any other sport, there's been plenty of examples that teams that just go out and throw money to whatever players that want to come there, it doesn't always work. I think really what makes a contender is you got to have fantastic scouting, you have to have good player development, and you have to know who to plug in the lineup and where at the right time. You know, money is just a small portion of contention. Does it play a part? Of course. Because if you go out, like, you can get a Blake Snell and you're the highest bidder, then, you got your guy.
Yeah.
but he also has to fit in your lineup. He needs to make sense for him to be on your team. So it's not impossible for small market teams to contend when these big market teams are gone spending a bunch of money. I think it does play a factor because you're not able to maybe attract the big free agents, but there's other ways around that.
Yeah, I'd probably half agree. Um, there are plenty of examples of, small market teams obviously winning the championship across any sport. But there's also plenty of examples of the big market teams that spent the money winning the championship across every sport. So I half agree, but I think it does it's not impossible, no. But I do think it makes it harder for the smaller market teams to, you know, put up a fight. If you can't land the big free agents, the big superstars, and then especially if, in the Dodgers case, if you can't land multiple superstars, um, we already know the Dodgers have a fantastic scouting team. We already know they have a fantastic coaching system and training and development system. They just won the World Series and they've been in contention for the last decade, at least making the playoffs. So they- they're proving they're proving it right that yeah, if we spend all the money, we have a better chance of winning the championship. And again, like the World Series last year was the two biggest markets, the LA Dodgers and the New York Yankees, the two highest payroll teams. Um, we'll see this free agency. Juan Soto is a big fish everybody's trying to grab. And, I highly doubt the Dodgers would grab him. But if they did, like, I just don't even, there's just no words.
I mean, people are already upset that they
Yeah,
have all this talent.
I
If
know.
they go out and get Juan
Yeah.
Soto, I think people will lose their minds.
Yeah. But he's probably going to go to a bigger market city because, re- as of reporting yesterday, the contracts negotiation and talks are now over $600 million. So there's not a small market team that's going to be able to pay that, like the Tampa Bay Rays, like the not the Oakland A's anymore, the Vegas Rays and or A's, and these or Minnesota. Like it's going to be a big city, a big time team. I, so I half agree with you, but I do think it makes it harder for smaller teams to compete.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is you think money isn't like a small part; it's a bigger factor than kind of what I'm letting off.
Yeah, I would still say coaching and development and scouting takes the majority, or but it's not as big of a majority as you're saying. I would say it's more like 60-40.
Right. Because you have to be able to pay your players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it goes back to if the Dodgers win, 4 or 5 championships, they become like the greatest dynasty of all time.
Yeah.
Uh, then we could definitely start seeing discussions of like, the small market teams are having a huge disadvantage.
Yeah.
So some's got to change.
Yeah.
So maybe that happens in a future CBA negotiation. But as of now, the Los Angeles Dodgers look like the scariest team in the MLB, and they're going to be the team to beat. They are the defending champions.
Like we said last year, they're going to be the favorites for the next like 10 World Series. So,
Yeah. So everybody look out.
yeah.
You can be mad all you want,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, they're not doing anything wrong.
Nope.
So moving on to basketball here, I'm gonna give you a quick standings update. We're about 22, 25 games in, about a quarter of the way through the season. Starting off with the Eastern Conference, the Cavaliers still lead. They had one of the best starts in NBA history.
Yeah.
I think they reached
Fif
15 and
15 and
0.
0, yeah, before the Celtics gave them the first loss.
Yeah. So they reached 15 and 0 to start the season, which is one of the best in NBA history. So now they still lead the Eastern Conference at 19 and 3 overall. The Celtics are right behind them at 17 and 4. The Magic, with their young talent, have picked it up this season. They're 15 and 8. And the Knicks, Bucks, Hawks, they're all 500 or above, and the Heat kind of round out the top teams with 9 and 10 records. So for the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder
Mhm.
lead with a 16 and 5 record. They also have a great up and coming young core. The Rockets are 15 and 7. The Mavericks are 14 and 8, followed by the Grizzlies, the Clippers, the Suns, the Warriors, the Nuggets, and the Lakers, all rounding out the top 8. So, what do you make of that, Shay? Seems that the Western Conference is better overall than the Eastern Conference. Uh,
To start, yeah.
there's still, because we were talking about it, but there are 9 teams right now in the West above 500, but I think a good amount of teams are kind of maybe mediocre, like they're hovering at or below 500. So,
Yeah.
what do you make of that? Is there like a lot of parity in the league, or what do you think's going on?
Yeah, I mean, in basketball, a lot of teams below 500 make the playoffs. So, it's not like a new thing, but as the years go on, there is more and more parity for sure. Teams are just, these are the best basketball players in the entire world, no doubt about it. Um, so, and it's also early. We're still a quarter of the way through the season, so I'm not going to read too much into it. Um, but normally, even like six, maybe sometimes fifth and below in the playoff standings for either conference, your teams are below 500 or at 500. So
All right. So now we got the NBA Emirates Cup up next. So we'll discuss, the records of the group plays and who's doing well, and all these games count towards the regular season as well.
yeah, well, actually, the bracket is already set
All right. Awesome.
for the Emirates Cup. The knockout rounds start, I think, this Friday. So, starting on the western side, so opposite of what you did. The
Oh yeah.
West, the quarterfinals. Oklahoma City is the number 1 seed in the quest for the Emirates Cup. They're going to take on Dallas, who's the number 4 seed. Then the Houston Rockets, the 2 seed, are taking on Golden State, or the 3 seed. In the East, the Milwaukee Bucks are the number 1 seed, taking on the Orlando Magic as the 4 seed. And the Knicks are the 2nd seed, taking on the Atlanta Hawks as the number 3 seed in the eastern side of the quarterfinal. Um, my own personal opinions on the cup. I think we gave it last year or 2 years ago, even maybe now. Um, I'm still pretty confused about how the Emirates NBA Cup works in the middle of the season. I I am still not a big fan. It doesn't draw me into the games by any means. The only thing I like about the cups are the different court designs that each of the teams have, which I think look very, very cool compared to the traditional court designs. But it's a mid-season trophy. I just,
Yeah, it's just a mid-season tournament.
yeah,
I don't know if they're doing this, but I think if they market it more towards like, their global markets, I think it would be better because
yeah,
everybody in the US already watches the NBA. That's nothing new.
yeah.
So maybe use the Emirates Cup as an opportunity to reach new audiences.
They might, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because if people there don't watch NBA games. Well, then they advertise, "Hey, like, we're having a in-season tournament. Like, this is your chance to tune in and watch some games," and, they compete for a trophy. I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
I think the same, like, for the NHL, like I said before, I think it'd be cool for them to do something like that because, it counts towards the regular season record, so you're not taking time away
Yep. Correct. Yeah.
or anything like that. And I would say the same thing. I know the NHL is the least popular sport, so maybe marketing it towards, United States could work, but use it as an opportunity, like with the global series, market it to Australia, market it to, countries in Asia,
Yeah.
you know, just different global markets. That's that's kind of my opinion, but I'm pretty with you. Like, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
in the end. Like, everybody's competing for the Larry O'Brien trophy. So
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't think they could care less about the midseason tournament.
Yeah. It's not like the whole reason they did is because of March Madness and the success of college basketball with March Madness. But
Right.
that is a
But that's
gigantic tournament all the way to a championship, and then the
yeah,
season's over.
that's the actual championship.
Exactly. This like it's a cool idea, but for me personally, I just don't have a vested interest unless the Celtics made the championship, which is not going to happen again for the third season in a row. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's not gonna tell you who, like, the best team is
no,
in the NBA.
no.
It's all kinda gimmicky,
Yeah,
I
because it
I would
does.
think.
It has to do with like record for the cup at the Emirates NBA Cup, like head to head record. But there's also because it happens in such a short time frame. There's also like points, like the amount of points you score matters, and how many points you score against another team matters. So it's very like nuanced and technical. So it can get pretty confusing.
Yeah. So, let us know your thoughts in the Emirates Cup, but I'm kinda with you. It doesn't really draw me in, but
Yeah.
I think with the right marketing, maybe they could use it in other ways.
Yeah, agreed.
So a little discussion on our teams, the Celtics and the Heat. I'll start with the Celtics. Uh, are the Celtics the team to beat in the NBA?
Yep.
I already know they're defending champions, so obviously, but can teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Houston Rockets, the Cavaliers, the Nuggets, like who in your opinion is probably the biggest contender to take down the Celtics
I mean,
in a playoff series in the East or in the NBA
yeah,
Finals?
in the East, it's probably the Cavs to at least start the year. We'll see how everything finishes. Um, as far as the regular season goes, but for the playoffs, before the season started, I would have said the Sixers, but the Sixers have just been abysmal to start the year, just absolutely terrible.
Might even be the shock of the
Yeah,
league.
absolute disappointment by far. But I would say I'd say the Cavs right now. Donovan Mitchell is playing very, very good basketball, and the whole team is playing extremely well and is a tough opponent. We lost to the Cavs. We did end their streak to start the year, but we did just lose to the Cavs the other day. So I'd say right now they're probably our biggest threat, but I still would say in a 7 game series the Celtics would pull out front. As far as the West goes, I think it's the same answer as last year, even though they also were very disappointing in the playoffs. The Nuggets and Jokic are still probably the team to beat in the West if they get back to the finals. Now, the Warriors are kind of having a really good, a lot of people are saying farewell season of their old guard being there. They got rid of Clay Thompson, but they still have Draymond Green and obviously Steph Curry. Uh, so the Warriors are putting up, are making things interesting because all you need is Steph Curry to be hot, and he's just fucking he could win the game himself, basically. So,
Yeah, he's that good.
yeah, so we'll see what happens on the West, but I'd say right now it's probably the, Nuggets.
Yeah, I would agree. One team that I don't think is a threat, at least right now, is the Heat.
Mhm.
They've I mean, we all know that the Heat aren't a regular season team.
Yeah, yeah.
We've known this for years. They do their damage in the playoffs.
Mhm.
But this core has gotten older. They're a year older now. Injuries.
They're still plaguing the Heat.
Tyler Herro's gonna miss games every year. Jimmy Butler's gonna miss games every year. Um, yeah, I you can't really get a gauge on the team, really. They just kind of have to make the playoffs
Yeah.
and then, hope they get hot. I mean, our coach always gets the most out of them in the playoffs,
Mhm. Yeah.
no matter what. But you also got to make the playoffs. So, it would be nice for them to not have to do the play-in tournament or anything. Like maybe get, a top seed in the East. Uh, Now, what's interesting is Jimmy Butler's in the final year of his contract. He wants to stay, but he's 35 years of age. Could the Heat look to trade him and say, and it's obviously going to depend on their record come to the trade deadline,
Mhm.
because you obviously, if you're close to the playoffs, you don't want to sell off arguably your best player.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, like if maybe they're 5, 6 games out of the playoffs, could they pull the plug and be like, all right, our window's closed, we've gotten older, time to do a little rebuild, retool. There's been a lot of teams that are interested in Butler ever
Yeah.
since last season. So yeah, could the Heat trade him, or you think they'll re-sign him? What do you think will happen?
I think the only way they trade him is if they're that far out of the playoffs come the trade deadline. Even then, I think it would be very hard for them to do. Like, they would need a lot in return, I would
Yeah,
say, for Jimmy Butler.
they would
Because
need a good package. They need
yeah,
young players, prospects,
yeah, and
maybe
he
draft picks.
deserves a lot in return because he's one of the better players in the league. Any team would love, Jimmy Butler. So I I don't I'd say there's like a 30% chance it happens right now. If the way they're going continues where they're hovering around 500 and then they have a losing stretch and they get below 500 by a few games, maybe that chance goes up. But I could see him staying with the Heat though.
Yeah, I think so. I think he really likes it there. I think the Heat like him there.
Mhm.
He's a great locker room presence. The fans love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be really hard to see a scenario where they trade Jimmy Butler. But I said the same thing with Steven Stamkos,
You did, yeah.
and he got traded,
That's right.
or not traded, but let go. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so we'll see. Finally for the NBA, who has an early case for the MVP? I believe that it's right now. It's between Jokic and Tatum
Yeah,
for MVP.
agreed. Tatum was white hot to start the year, and as not that he's like cooled off, but his numbers have come down just slightly. And Jokic is, as you said before we started recording, having the best start to his career. So to a season in his career, sorry. So yeah, I think that as of right now, those are definitely the two front runners. So a lot of season left to go. So we'll see if they stay up there at the front or if they fall off and someone else joins. But um, I'd be interested if it did come down to those two, who would get it.
Yeah, because right now Jokic leads the league in points scored, rebounds, and assists,
Hmm.
which is crazy.
Yeah,
And Tatum, like you said, he's kind of came down, but he's still nearly averaging a double double for the season so far.
yeah, and he's
And
still
he's on one of the best teams in the NBA, which
yeah,
definitely plays a factor in MVP voting.
yeah, and he's still the only player leading his team in all of the major categories. Points per game, assists, steals, blocks, rebounds. He's still leading the entire team.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Maybe voter fatigue plays a part.
Yeah,
Maybe they finally give it to Tatum instead of Jokic. I could see that.
I would love it.
I know you would like it. But with that, we're going to take a short break, kind of recuperate. And when we come back, we're going to discuss football over the last few weeks and we'll move on to some hockey news. And that'll be it for our episode a few weeks back. So we'll see you all very soon. Welcome back, everyone, after the break. Just a little quick note here. We understand we've had a lot of breaks recently just because of circumstances and stuff that's happened. Uh, so we just wanted to say if you keep listening to the podcast, we really appreciate your support.
Yes.
Uh, we want to continue doing the podcast regularly. It's just been a little hard lately. Once we get through Christmas because of our jobs, the holidays are always hectic. Starting the new year, maybe count it as a New Year's resolution. We want to start getting back to weekly episodes,
Hmm.
getting back to that and then expanding on the YouTube videos. Uh, so with that being said, we know we haven't touched on college football in a while. Um, so we're not going to touch on it this week, but the playoff bracket, the final rankings come out this week. So we will discuss the final rankings, you know, the playoffs, who we think might go far, like
Yeah.
who are the favorites and all of that. Make our predictions for the championship and who's going to win. So look out for that.
Yeah.
So, but we are aware of
We we
our
s-
mistakes.
we still know college football is actually happening. So well, next week's episode, once the rankings come out and the playoff bracket comes out, we will definitely spend some time on that, um, and give our predictions and picks and who we think missed the cut and who made the cut that maybe shouldn't have, and all the drama that surrounds college football playoffs.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, I'm very excited to watch some college football playoffs, especially with the 12 teams,
Yeah.
because we all know college playoff football can be just insane.
Yeah. Especially the first round being like home games, not neutral site games. Oh,
Yeah.
that's going to be electric.
Yeah. So we're really excited. We'll do an update and we'll keep up, throughout the playoffs. So, with that being said, we're going to move on to the NFL, professional football. Not to say that college isn't, you know, professional or anything like that.
I mean, college is technically the second most popular sport in terms of revenue and viewership. So,
Yeah. Not hockey.
no, hockey would be fifth in this ranking.
Yeah. So, starting off with the NFL, my teams obviously continue to disappoint all
It's
year.
not Jarris's year this year.
No, not at all. I've accepted it. All year, I think my teams have only won in the same week once.
Mhm.
All year. Uh, the Jaguars fall to 2-10, which follows my prediction because I predicted them to finish last in the division. They lost another very close game to the Texans. I believe that's twice this year they lost to the Texans the exact same score by a field goal. So yeah. But that's not the big story. The game. The big story is the vicious hit on Trevor Lawrence from Texans defender Aziz Al-Shaair,
Yes. Good job.
Shire, uh, which gets him a 3-game suspension. And coming out today, Lawrence has been placed on the IR. So with 5 games remaining, that likely ends the season
Yeah.
for Lawrence. Probably for the best. Just let him rest up. Have a nice long off season, and we'll see what happens next year. Moving on. because there's not really much else to say. The Bengals lose another one-score contest against the Steelers, and it's over. It's been over for like 3 weeks. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
Uh, so both my teams are now looking for a top draft pick to give them help. What happens next after the regular season? Clean house.
For
Everybody
both
gone.
teams?
Everybody gone. Besides the Bengals offensive coordinator, everybody. Just fire everyone. Anybody that has a head, turn it over. Everyone. No one's safe. Trade Lawrence? No,
No.
that's not happening.
Yeah, no
Uh,
one's picking up that contract.
no. Um, yeah, I don't really have much else to say. It's just been a very disappointing season for both teams. More for the Bengals because we know the Bengals can be good, but they've had literally no defense. So that's it. Season's over. Moving on, I still have fantasy. If I win this week, I'm in the playoffs. If I lose, I need a couple other people to lose to make the playoffs. Shay's not even in the playoff spot right now. So I have that going for me.
In
Moving on.
both in both of my leagues, I might miss the playoff. One for sure. My other league, I have to win again, and I think I need some help to get into the play.
Yeah. So moving on. The Philadelphia Eagles, after my rant, they have been the best team in the NFL since their bye week from a 2-2 record. They're now 10-2 on the season with the 8-game win streak. And Barkley is making an MVP case as they beat the Ravens Monday night. Shay is going to start the glazing.
Um, this has a eerily similar feel to the 2017 Super Bowl winning year and the 2022 Super Bowl appearance where we lost to the Chiefs.
No shame.
It just for me personally, it's a very eerie feeling. It's very, very similar. Um, everything we have the best defense in all of football. Our two corners, first and second round draft pick, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, are the two best corners in all of football, and they're rookies.
Yeah, let me just say that tackle on Derrick Henry was just, oh, like,
Perfect tackle, everything.
oh,
Just
that brought down the house.
on King Henry of all people. Yeah, Quinyon Mitchell has played over, I think, 400 snaps now, and still has not allowed a touchdown as a rookie. As a rookie, and
The Bengals should take some notes.
yeah, and he's gone up against wide receivers like Jamar Chase, and he has not given up a touchdown. That says a lot.
They've had the number one defense in the league
Yes,
since week 5.
yeah. They're just doing everything right, and Jalen Hurts has really brought his turnovers down and his bad mistakes down. He's not passing the ball that much anymore because Saquon Barkley is making a case for MVP.
Yeah, he's on pace for over 2,000 rushing yards. He's also on pace to break the single season rushing total.
Yeah, plays by Eric Dickerson. Dickinson? I think
Dickerson.
yeah, Dickerson 40 years ago. And what's really cool is Dickerson came out with a video basically saying, it's been 40 years. This was before the Monday night game. It's been 40 years that my record's been up. Saquon and Derrick Henry, go get it, boys. Go eat. Which is super cool. Super, super cool to hear from a record holder. So Saquon is definitely making a case to be the first non-QB MVP since 2012. And he, as we're going to talk about right now, he has tough competition. So I would say between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I don't think there's anybody else really that are up there with them those are definitely the 3 front runners, but my ranking is
Burrow would be on a winning team,
but he's not on a
but
winning
he's not
team.
on a winning team. Anyways,
Um, I would say after the incredible Sunday night game that Josh Allen had,
the snowball.
and he's had an MVP like year already. I still think he is in first place. I think Saquon though has made a case to be second place in voting right now. And after Lamar's performance on Monday, even though he still played a great game, but Lamar's performance dropped him down to third. But I think those are the top 3. And even if Josh Allen wins above Saquon, I would still be happy because Josh Allen absolutely deserves it. Absolutely deserves it.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh Allen after that game for sure. He was actually the first quarterback in NFL history to have a passing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and a rushing touchdown all in the same game.
Yeah,
Because that play with Amari Cooper was just fantastic.
fantastic.
Passed it to Amari Cooper, so that's the receiving,
Yep.
and then Amari Cooper lateraled it back to him and ran it in the end zone.
Yep.
So there's the receiving touchdown.
Just he's just something else. And hey, congratulations, Josh Allen, on your engagement to Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah. If you didn't see the photo, it looked something out of a fairy tale.
They're perfect.
Beautiful.
They're perfect.
Beautiful. But yeah, Josh Allen is one of those few players, not just quarterback players, that when he's on the field, he can literally change a game
Oh yeah.
by himself.
So can Saquon though,
So can
and
Saquon.
so can Lamar.
Mahomes when he's on
Yep.
the top of his game.
Yep.
Uh, I would argue Burrow as well.
Yeah.
If he did, like I said, if he did have a defense, he would definitely be a front runner for
Yeah.
MVP.
Agreed. And I actually saw something yesterday. This year, Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen's numbers are actually identical. Josh Allen has, I think, like a couple hundred more yards passing. Jalen Hurts has a better completion percentage. Josh Allen has 2 more passing touchdowns, and Jalen Hurts has less interceptions. And Jalen Hurts is not in the MVP conversation because of Saquon Barkley and how amazing he's been. What I just think it's really, really interesting.
Yeah. Since we're going to point out stats, going back to the Bengals, I want to point this out because I kind of want to do a video on this where I look at teams that had fantastic offenses that had a wasted year
Mhm.
because of their defense. In games where teams score 33 or more points, the rest of the NFL, besides the Bengals, all other 31 teams only have 1 loss. The Bengals are 2-4
Yeah.
when they score 33 or more points.
And that game against the Steelers was a fantastic game.
It was, but we lost.
Russell Wilson
He
showed up.
he had, I think, the second best game of his career
Yeah.
against the Bengals. But that just shows you that, and I've seen online, and it's really pissing me off, not gonna lie, because everybody's blaming Burrow for taking the money and
Right.
not taking less money, and that's why our team sucks.
No.
If we had a good owner and a good front office, this would not be happening.
That argument's null and void because you have contracts that are very similar, like Josh Allen's, like Jalen Hurts, like Patrick Mahomes, and yet they're all winning.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that argument's
So
stupid. I agree with you.
blaming Joe Burrow is a load of shit.
Yeah.
And I think with the way Burrow's playing and that the Bengals are 4-8, I think that is completely unacceptable. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I might be too harsh maybe because I'm a Bengals fan, but I think any other fan base would be pretty disgusted.
And
But
The saying is defense wins championships.
Yeah. So this offseason, I know I was moving on from the Bengals, but now I'm mad.
Now we circled back.
This offseason, we need to go and show Burrow that we want to win.
Yeah.
Because you can't waste talent like this.
Mhm.
You can't. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Like I said, heads need to be rolling and the team needs to go out and fix their problems and show Burrow that they want to win, not just fill seats.
Yeah, I mean, if I were a Bengals fan, I would agree with you. Yeah.
I've watched every press conference after the game. You know, people are saying, "Oh, well, Burrow's fine. He's getting the money." Uh, you know, why does he care about winning? Burrow looks absolutely miserable.
Yeah, he's a competitor.
I don't know if you've seen how he looks during the press conferences. He looks absolutely miserable. He's pissed off.
Yeah.
You know, same with Chase. Like they're going out and doing their job, and the rest of the team is not showing up.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Now,
Besides,
that brings up an interesting question that just popped up in my head. Do you think this has any impact this next offseason on the contract that they need to sign for Chase?
I don't I don't think it does. Like because Burrow's there, I think Chase will resign just because, they're like best friends and all that. They're the best arguably right now the best like wide receiver QB duo in the league just because of the numbers that
Yeah.
they're putting up. Um but you know, if Chase says, "You know what? I want to wait out the rest of my rookie contract to see where this team's at." That means that this offseason is going to be like super critical.
Yeah.
Because we need to go out and show Chase that we mean business. Joe Burrow's staying. He's already signed. Higgins, we're not going to re-sign Higgins. All that money's going towards Chase.
Mhm.
Now, if there was a situation where like Higgins walked, signed with another team, and then Chase decided, you know what? Like, I want to win. So I'm going to go sign with another team. That would just be a disaster.
Yeah, that would be
That
a
would be a huge disaster.
yeah, huge slap in the face to the Bengals organization.
Um, so fingers crossed that doesn't happen because obviously we're not going to be able to afford to keep Chase and Higgins,
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But yeah, this is going to be a very critical offseason. We need to go out and show them that we want to win.
Mhm.
And it all starts from the top.
Yep.
So
It does. We'll see. Well, we'll see what happens. Moving on. Who would we pick? Meaning you and myself. If the playoffs started today, we already like made our predictions and stuff, but
yeah,
the current situation, if the playoffs did start today, who would we pick to get to the Super Bowl?
yeah. So right now in the AFC, this is if the playoffs started today with 5 weeks left. Kansas City would be number 1 and the Lions would get the bye. So that's the top seeds in the AFC and NFC. So in the AFC, you got the Bills and the Broncos. You got the Ravens and who is that?
The Chargers.
Oh, okay. The Chargers. What helmet is that?
That's their helmet.
But it's like just a black helmet. You see that too, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the Steelers helmet. They only
Oh.
have the logo on the right side of their helmets. The left side is black.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Sorry.
so the Steelers and the Ravens, and then the Texans and the Chargers.
If real quick, if that came to be and the playoff game was Ravens Steelers, oh my god, rivalry AFC North rivalry game in the playoffs. Woo! That's money right there.
Yeah, that would be insane.
Ease your popcorn.
That would be a tough pick.
Oh yeah.
That would be a
Oh,
tough pick.
because specifically Ravens Steelers AFC North games are tough, hard, low scoring games. So that would be a really good playoff game.
Yeah. So as previously mentioned, the Lions are the number 1 seed in the SC.
Mhm.
So then you have the Eagles and the Commanders, the Seahawks and the Packers, and then the Falcons and the Vikings.
So who out of each conference, who out of right now is going to the Super Bowl?
Now, you always tell me don't bet against the Chiefs,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Now, do I think they make the Super Bowl if the playoffs started today?
Statistically, right now they are the worst 11-1 team that has ever been in the league.
So if the playoffs started today, I don't think I would take them to reach the Super Bowl.
But they're
So,
different beasts in the playoffs. That's when they actually show up.
yeah, I know. So if the playoffs started today, who would I take?
Not Super Bowl winner, just Super Bowl.
You kind of, I don't know. You kind of can't go with the Bills, can you?
I'm not going to give my answer and
Oh.
explanation until you're done.
If the playoffs started today, I would have to go with the Bills
Mhm.
because they're one of the best teams.
Mhm.
Maybe if they lose a few games down the stretch, that could change. But if they started today, I would choose the Bills
Yeah.
to make the Super Bowl. And then for the NFC, I kind of have to go with the easy pick as well. I probably choose the Eagles because they're one of the two hottest teams. Oh, but the Lions though,
They're on a 9-game win streak.
yeah. I'd still have to say the Eagles because they've had the number 1 defense, and the Lions have had critical injuries on defense. So do
Mhm.
they have the depth to make up for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Bills and Eagles. Just take the two hottest teams.
For our friend Jake, that has been for me and him specifically. Our dream is a Bills Eagles Super Bowl. Our two favorite teams. So that's what I want. That's what I want to happen. But until the Bills beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, since they can't do that, it's going to be for me the Chiefs and the Eagles, just like our video. And the Eagles only because they'd have the best defense, as you just said. And the Lions, even though they're extremely hot and they're as good as they seem to be, I don't think as hot as they are, their offense would be as successful against our defense with the way it's played. And I don't see any team right now stopping Saquon Barkley. And I think both games, I do think the championship games are going to be Kansas City and Buffalo and the Lions and the Eagles. Both games would be must watch TV in the playoffs.
Yeah, this playoff right here, which more than likely I think is going to stay the same, probably down the stretch. That'd be a great playoffs
I agree.
right there.
hmm I agree.
That would, yeah. So that being said, fingers crossed that's the Chiefs and the Eagles because I picked that Super Bowl and I picked the Eagles to win.
So did I, but I picked the Chiefs to win. To win their,
But that's
which
fine.
Travis Kelsey on his podcast, because we're just friends and we all have podcasts together. His podcast on his podcast with his brother Jason, greatest human being ever.
By the way,
said
congrats to having his fourth daughter.
fourth daughter and hosting a late night show starting in January. He's the best. Travis on his podcast said the Chiefs are going to win their third straight Super Bowl in a rematch against the Eagles. That's what he said. So I'm going to hold you to your word there, Travis.
So if that happens, then we know that the NFL is rigged because Travis Kelce knows the script.
What does that mean? I know the script since I picked out my pick?
Yeah. Well, you just said you and Travis Kelce are best friends, so he probably tell you the script. So we have it all. We have you all figured out.
I'm just gonna alright, I'm done with this episode here.
Like jumps out the window, gets a new like a jet black car with the
Yes. Have a whole new identity and
the window rolls down. I see like Travis Kelce is like, "Oh, we gotta get out of here." Yeah,
Oh,
but
god.
yeah, that would be a fantastic Super Bowl. I mean, when they met in 2022, that was a
Great, yeah,
fantastic Super
yeah.
Bowl, even though they did lose,
The Eagles.
unfortunately. But I'll ask this question as well because I would be interested. If what's it gonna take for the Eagles to not fire Sirianni? Like, say you win out the rest of the season, but if you're on the first round, is he gone?
I I don't think so anymore. I think Saquon and
Has
the
like saved him.
yeah, I think Saquon and the Vic Fangio with the defense has saved his job. Um,
All right.
he yeah, I really do. So I think no matter what happens now, he'll be back next year.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree with that. So we're gonna move on to contenders versus pretenders.
Mhm,
And with the aforementioned Eagles, they are surefire contenders.
yeah,
Few stats, they have the first overall defense.
mhm,
They're fourth in total offense for yards per game. So this is all yards per game. They're number one in rushing. They're number 28 in passing, which I find interesting. They're plus three in their giveaway differential, so they have three more giveaways than takeaways.
mhm,
Um, or three more takeaways than giveaways.
correct.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, Hertz doesn't pass the ball much, but I don't think he needs to. I
Nope,
don't think he needs to be a Patrick Mahomes.
nope.
They have such a good rushing offense. They have a great defense, so he doesn't need to be, an all-time great quarterback for
No,
think for them to win a
and
Super
even
Bowl.
still, like, the reason why the run game works so well is obviously it's like Saquon Barkley is an generational talent as a running back, but Jalen Hurts can run the ball really well too. So you have both of them back there. It only helps the running game even more. And then the passing game works based off of the running game. So if the running game is going and all the defenses are trying to stop Saquon or Jalen, well, that does open up the pass game. And that's why he does have so many touchdowns through the air because they still score through the air, even though he's not throwing the ball as much.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the Eagles are contenders. I don't think there's any
No,
arguments for
no, no.
that. There could be a couple with pretenders, but I think all my contenders are pretty much set. So
Yeah.
next, the Lions,
Mhm.
I think are contender. Or we'll do pretender first. Actually, we'll alternate. So pretender that I came up with is the Seahawks. They're 27th in giveaways, so they have like the sixth most. So being low means you have more
Mhm.
giveaways. They're 26th in differential, so the defense doesn't take away the ball a lot.
Yep.
Uh, and they're pretty much middle of the pack in every other stat that I could find. Uh, Geno Smith has 13 touchdowns, but 12 interceptions, so he's you know got the pretty even.
Yeah.
So they lead their division right now with the 7-5 record. So my question would be, do you think they've kind of been gifted the division with teams like the 49ers not having a good season, and I don't think really a fault of their own. I think just injuries have really derailed them. The Cardinals, they're there. I think they're better than we expected them to be.
They're a they're a pesky and hard bottom half team.
Yeah. I think they could play good spoiler, if you will,
Yeah, yeah,
like down the
absolutely, yeah.
stretch. And then I forget who the other team is in the NFC North
The West, I mean,
or the West. Yeah.
the Rams.
And the Rams, they've been okay, I think. I don't think they've been great.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you think the Seahawks have kind of been gifted the division? Are they as bad as I've said, or do you think no? They could do some damage.
I it's hard to say just because that division has been a kind of a pretty big surprise with the 49ers falling off and the Cardinals being better than what people thought. I I'd say they probably have been gifted it. Not that I don't think they won't do anything. Um because they do play tough as well, but I think they if the 49ers were better and weren't so injury riddled, which, rip to Christian McCaffrey, who's done for the
Yeah,
year. Um,
came back like 2 games now.
yeah, tore his PCL or something.
Yeah,
So I think the Seahawks are a little fraudulent. Yeah.
yeah, I would agree. They had a really good start, so
Mhm.
I think if they could recapture what they had when they started 3-0,
I don't think they're a bad team. I'm not saying they're a
no,
bad team,
and
but I don't think they're one of the great teams either.
I don't think I don't think gifted's the right word because you know I don't think you're gifted a division. Like you have to be a good team to win the division.
Yeah.
So you know, maybe a little bit of luck. You
Yeah.
know, I would say,
Yeah.
but so moving on, my next contender is the Detroit Lions. They have the number 2 overall offense in the league through all their games. They're 25th in passing defense, which I found pretty interesting,
Mhm.
which may be understandable with, Aiden Hutchinson
Yeah.
injured, their best pass rusher. Uh, they're top 10 though in every other category. And for Jared Goff, he has 22 touchdowns and only 9 interceptions. And really, outside of that one game where he had the 3 interceptions, he's been pretty good. I think he's been a little overlooked.
Yeah. I mean, he's overlooked really every year, and I would say arguably this is so far the best season of his career that he's having right now.
I wouldn't disagree with that. No. I think Goff is one of those guys that isn't going to wow you with like the big plays like
No,
Chase
he's
or
he's a pure
not Chase,
quarterback.
but like
He's
Burrow and
Yeah,
Allen can make. But he's very consistent and he doesn't make a ton of mistakes.
yeah,
But, the Lions are such a good team. They have, you know, so many weapons on offense that Goff doesn't need to be like a superhero
yeah,
for
exactly.
that team.
Yeah.
He just needs to be good enough.
Mhm,
So moving on, my next pretender, which might be a bit of a hot take, I have the Vikings
mhm.
as my second pretender. They are 26 in giveaways, so they give away the ball a lot, but their defense makes up for it. They're fourth in takeaways. So they're bottom 5 as well in the pass defense, but they're first in rushing defense.
Mhm.
And Sam Darnold has had a very good year, very good bounce back. Very happy for him. 23 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
Yeah, I still don't trust the Vikings per se, but, they were the only undefeated team besides the Chiefs for a moment. I think they were what, like 7-0 or 6-0, and then they lost their first 2 finally 2 games back to back. And now they've won a lot. So they're 9-2. So that what I just said would make sense. Shocker. But regardless, they did lose 2 in a row at some point, and now they've won 5 straight. So I think I think they're for real, but I don't think they're a contender. Um, the end of the year, their last 2 games are Packers and Lions, respectively.
So that will really tell us,
Yeah,
like,
if
if
they
they're for real.
shock the Lions, which, like, we have to see, like, will the Lions just sit all their starters, which they could. But come the end of the year, if that final game is gonna be, like, number 1 seed material or division winner material, like, they're not sitting starters then. So, that I'm really interested the end of the year games, the last 2 games for the Vikings is gonna say a lot about this team.
Yeah, I think so. There was that one year where they were like 13-3, but they won like so many close games,
Mhm.
and then they got bounced in the first round by the Giants.
Yeah.
I think they're a better team than that team because I know a lot of people
Yeah,
were saying that year that they were fraudulent. I don't think they're as fraudulent. They've definitely exceeded expectations for sure
by far,
because
yeah.
this was supposed to be kind of a maybe like a retooling year. You know, then McCarthy got hurt, so they obviously couldn't put him in.
Yeah.
So they went out, and got Sam Darnold. Uh, but yeah, I think this is a solid team. I'm with you. I don't think they're like a Super Bowl contender. I don't think they win at all, but I think they deserve to be in the playoffs
Mhm.
for sure. So my last contender, no surprise, is gonna be the Buffalo Bills. They are second in offense, in terms of points per game.
Mhm.
They are sixth in defense for points per game. Uh, they're not top 10 in any individual category, special category, rushing, passing. They have the highest differential though in the league. So they have a lot of takeaways. They don't have very many giveaways.
Yeah.
I think they're at like a plus 17 differential.
Yeah.
Josh Allen having a very good year, 20 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, having a great year from like where he was last year, where
Oh,
he
yeah.
had a lot of interceptions.
MVP year.
So pretty good. And I overlooked the Bills. Sorry, Jake. I said they had the worst offseason, and they've been one of the best teams in the NFL.
Exactly, yeah.
So my bad. And now look at the Bengals. Maybe that's why the Bengals aren't doing well because I overlooked the Bills,
Yeah,
and now I'm getting jinxed.
maybe
Yeah.
so.
So the last team I have as a contender, and after this we're gonna have to cut it. Um, the Houston Texans. I think the the season they had, in my opinion, like CJ Stroud was a rookie. Sometimes when a rookie quarterback comes in, like it takes a little bit for teams to figure them out. I think the season they're having is not necessarily a disappointment. I think it's just like a growing pain.
Mhm.
They went out, they got, you know, a couple big name free agents. They got Joe Mixon, uh, for an example. I don't think they're as bad as their record. I think, it's just a sophomore slump, maybe for CJ Stroud this year. They're probably still a playoff team. They're like a safe playoff team. We'll see what they do. Uh, but it tells you with the stats that like they're mid in almost every category, like middle of the pack. They're winning a lot of close games, but they're also losing a few close games.
Mhm.
So I think their 8-5 record really reflects how they're doing. I think it accurately reflects their performance. For CJ Stroud, he has 15 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, so he hasn't been obviously as fantastic as he was last year.
Yeah.
Uh, but I don't think there's any reason to be like disappointed. I would say I think it's just growing pains for me.
Yeah, I don't think they're a pretender per se. Um, I would probably agree it's probably not a disappointing year. CJ Stroud, to go off of what you just said, how sometimes when a quarterback enters the league, the opposing teams just don't know a rookie. Um, that's true, but also give CJ Stroud a lot of credit because what he did last year is an anomaly. Most, 90% of rookie quarterbacks are not that good to right away. Just start right away and be that
Right.
good.
Which which also I want to make a point when a rookie does come in and is not doing well and everybody trashes on him, like Caleb Williams,
Yeah,
he's a rookie.
yeah,
That's it.
exactly. It's pretty much expected. So
The leap from college to the NFL is like huge.
yes,
It's
it's
leaps
massive.
and bounds.
Yeah. So So, like, I agree, teams don't know rookies as much and, all that stuff. But CJ had an anomalistic kind of year. So, yeah, he's having a sophomore slump. Not as egregious as, maybe other players in the past.
Yeah.
Definitely. He's still a
You
great.
kinda knew, like, his numbers were gonna
Yeah.
maybe come down a little bit.
Yeah, no. He's definitely still having a good year and is a great, great quarterback, great player. Um, so I don't think the team is a disappointment, but if I were a Texans fan, I would definitely be nervous. The team is not as good as expectations led you to believe, I would say. Again, not a disappointment, but I would I would be nervous. Like, I don't they're a great team and D'Amico Ryans is a great, great coach, but I don't think they're going to beat the Bills in the playoffs or the Chiefs even in the
Right,
playoffs.
right. I mean, we saw that, they won their wild card matchup.
Mhm.
They went against the Ravens, they gave them a good fight. I think really it all comes down to just experience.
Yeah.
You gotta have the experience, you know? Like you said, you're not probably not gonna beat the Bills or Chiefs. I mean, those teams have a lot of playoff experience
Ton, yeah.
and, you know, arguably the 2 best quarterbacks in the league, say,
Mhm.
over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
you know? So, you know, like you said, be nervous, but if they lose, I don't think they should be disappointed.
It would be a disappointment if they missed the playoffs,
Yeah,
but if they make the playoffs and they lose in the first round,
to the Bills, like, say they play the
yeah,
Bills,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I don't think it's a disappointment. Now next year, okay, we need to start doing shit. But for this year, it's still almost like a pass, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, yeah, with these picks, I knew they might have been, kinda controversial. I wanted to go low off the board. I think, like, the surefire pretenders, I think the Commanders, they're performing well above expectations, and you have a rookie quarterback. Jalen Daniels played great, but when it comes playoff time, we've never seen him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, can can they replicate that success? We'll see, you know? We've seen before, all you got to do is get in,
Mhm.
and if you get hot at the right time, you can really surprise some people.
Yeah.
Um,
The beauty with football is it's one game and that's it. It's not a 7-game series. So if you do get hot in that one game and you're a surprise upset, ooh, better
yeah,
watch out.
I'd say too right now, like, the Falcons are kinda tilting on Tender because
Yeah,
they've
I agree.
been pretty bad,
Oh, the just
last
like
few
the
games.
last 5 years, the NFC South,
It's the
it's
same
just the same
same
story.
story,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd say I would say right now, I would think the Bucks are a better team than the Falcons, and that they just had the injuries, so they lost a few games. They won their last 2, I believe. Yeah, they won their last 2, so they've gotten back to 500. So we'll see. I can't really gauge them yet, but I think if they make the playoffs, I think they could be like a sleeper pick, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And then, for the AFC, I mean, can't really call the Chiefs pretenders because they're 11-1. I mean, even though,
Yeah.
like you said, they are like the worst 11-1 team, you know, I don't think you can really call anyone that has a record like that
Like
a
we've been
pretender.
saying all year so far, the Chiefs are playing this poorly, but they're still winning.
Yeah. Maybe the Steelers because when it comes to bad opponents, they play bad. So, but maybe that says like when they get in the playoffs that
I
they might play their best football.
I don't know.
I
That
can't
game
really.
that game against the Bengals, like Russell Wilson, yeah, it was against a bad defense. No offense, but Russell Wilson silenced like all his doubters and haters that he was a washed quarterback. He's he's
Oh no,
legit.
I
He's
never.
back.
Yeah, I personally never thought that Russell
Yeah,
Wilson was a
I
washed quarterback.
I think the Steelers are a legitimate threat as a 3 seed. Um, but I don't
Wonder
I
what
say they might beat the Chiefs, honestly, but I don't think they'd beat the Bills right now.
I don't know if you can call the Ravens like a pretender either because Lamar is playing so well. The defense though is kind of concerns me.
Mhm.
They've been pretty middle of the pack.
Yeah.
You know, are would they be able to get together come playoff time?
Their
And like,
bye week is coming at a really good time.
yeah.
This week's their bye, and they need.
And like with Lamar, you know, are his passing options like better than some of the other ones in the AFC?
Mhm.
I feel like,
I
but
don't. Yeah, I don't think the Ravens are pretenders either. They're too good to be. They're wrecked. Yeah, they just lost to the Eagles, but
and who do you have in the AFC South? Oh, you have the Texans.
Texas and the Colts. Like, I don't think the Colts
I
are
don't
as
know
good.
if the I think the Broncos could do some damage.
They're oh yeah.
I don't think the Broncos are a pretender.
That game against their last Monday Night Football against the Browns. Holy shit!
You see that pass, Bo Nix,
Yeah,
like right through the needle?
they they found a quarterback in the draft, and Bo Nix, he's learning.
I remember like right at the start of the season, those first few games, everybody was saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
see, Bo Nix is a bust."
Yep.
Like, ooh,
No, it's working, and they have all that dead cap with Russell Wilson, and they're still winning games.
I don't think the Chargers are pretenders either. I think the AFC is, for my money right now, is a little stronger
Yeah,
than the
I mean,
NFC.
it's been that way for a while now. The AFC has always been the better conference, and think this year it is still the better conference. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I had to really pick a pretender, I'd maybe argue the Steelers, but yeah, I mean, there are a lot of good teams in the NFL.
Mhm.
I was saying like in the middle of the season, it's been like there were a lot of teams that were like performing better than expected. And there were a lot of good teams that were in the middle. I think now over the last few games, we've kind of seen it start to correct itself,
Yeah. Yeah.
where we're starting to see like who's for real and who's not.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
it'll be interesting. We got 5 games left in the regular season, so we'll do our end of season update. We'll look at the standings. We got a
Mhm.
little bet place, so whoever gets the
More correct.
least, yeah, like the least percentage amount of teams
Yeah.
drawn,
Yeah.
we'll lose the bet. But we'll reveal that when the time comes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna do it. This episode ran a little bit longer, but we just wanted to provide an update. We unfortunately didn't get to hockey, but that's fine. We had a really good discussion on football, so that's all that matters. So we'll try to get to hockey next week, but thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Uh, just a reminder for the holidays, we might have a 2-week break. We will keep you posted. We're definitely gonna have a break the week of Christmas
Yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
Uh, but we'll let you know if we end up making a 2-week break like we did last year. And we'll get, like I said, we're working on getting back on schedule. So if you continue listening, thank you guys so much for your support. It means a lot. And if you listen to this entire podcast up until now, let us know your thoughts on anything we discussed. And thank you so much. And we will see you all in the next one.